You're listening to Let's Stay Together, a podcast about Fruits Basket but not Ski Takaya. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Kayla.
And today we're discussing chapters 126 and 127.
Old school.
Yeah. You mean back old school like the manga? Back to
old school, 2 chapters at a time.
Oh, 2 chapters at a time. Yes, that's correct. No more of the... Next time we're going to do 4. So,
yeah.
you know.
So don't get used to it.
No. I think it's like 4 and then 2 and 3 or something. I forget. Anyway, it's fine. Everybody's along for the roller coaster ride now. No. Everything's out the window. We're just like... It's chaos. We're going to do our summary discussion and spoiler discussion. And also, I have a warning up top for Kureno Uo content, because I know some people don't like that. But this one of the chapters has them. So if you are just listening along and like not reading it or whatever, and you don't want to listen to that, skip this one.
Yeah.
You can go back and listen to the one last time. They weren't in it at all. Huh?
Yeah. Or at least skip the second half.
Skip the second half. And then skip all our random discussion when we talk about it.
Yeah, because we're disorganized.
Yeah, it won't be discussed in an organized
Just
way.
talk about whatever comes to mind.
You can just skip to like the end if I add any banter and enjoy that. Okay. Chapter 126 opens with Kyo approaching a large house. He remembers Hana asking him, "There are other things that you should be doing, aren't there?" And he narrates, "It's so simple, the answer to that question. Both the what and the how. It's all so damn simple. I have to face what I've been running from. That's all there is to it. But to me, doing that is so hard it hurts. But I've made my decision, and today's the day I say it." Kyo hovers outside the front door, fists clenched. "I feel kind of sick, and I'm not even in the house yet," he thinks. And he remembers Tohru telling him, "It's okay." He frowns, and then with a look of determination and conviction, he enters. Inside, Kyo's father, whose house this is, sits in a large sitting room reading. A woman who I assume is his, like, domestic help, ? I don't know. She remains nameless throughout the rest of this. But escorts Kyo into the room. Kyo's father jumps up and shouts, "What is this? Who said you could let him in here? What are you doing here? What do you want? And look at you, calm as you please. How dare you?" "Hey," Kyo says, frowning. Aren't our normal office workers home at this time? You never did take work seriously." "Shut your mouth. I work hard. I work hard, I'll have you know," Kyo's dad retorts. I haven't been feeling well lately. I'm taking some time off. And whose fault do you think that is?" "What, mine?" Kyo asks. "You bet it's yours. Why don't you just admit to what you did?" his father yells, getting increasingly angry. "You're the one who killed your mother. Don't assume that you'll be forgiven just because your hand in it was passive. You're just a..." His father continues to berate him, but Kyo doesn't hear. He has a memory of his childhood. His mother kneels on the floor. He holds her hands, and he looks up, angry. He narrates, "I feel sick. It's like all the hate, fear, sadness, all those feelings were tossed together into a pot and set boiling. In the present, he shakes and thinks, keep it together." "Fine, you're right," he says. "It's all my fault." "So you will admit it. It's about time," his dad says. "You admitted it, I heard you." He turns to the woman nearby. "You heard it, didn't you? Contact the main house. Make them come here and drag him out of my sight." The woman hesitantly but hurriedly leaves to do that. "I hope you bear the burden of killing her and wallow away in there for the rest of your days," he says. "No," Kyo says. I won't go in there. I refuse. I'm gonna live outside no matter what. I came here to tell you that." I know I'm shaking, Kyo thinks. It's so obvious that it's almost stupid. Any normal person wouldn't have to declare things every single time. They wouldn't have to be afraid. He thinks of Tohru smiling. "But even though I couldn't do something so simple, you didn't make fun of me or get frustrated with me. You did all you could to support me, to care for me, to keep reaching out to me. This is all because you're so important to me." He says to his father, "Look, I met someone and I want to be with her. Starting now and for good." "You?" his father says. "What on earth are you talking about? That would never be allowed. Live a normal life? I won't allow it." Kyo's father picks up the ashtray from the table and throws it at him. "You have to pay for what you've done," he screams. "You have to pay me back for what you've done. Do you know how much shame I've had to endure because of you? How much my life has been ruined? It's all because you were born on this earth. Why did she have to give birth to you?" Kyo has the same memory again of his mother, and this time, his father standing above them. He remembers his father's words from the past. "You gave birth to such a child. Just disappear. You two, both of you, just disappear." Kyo's eyes widen with realization. "Wait, it was you?" Kyo says. "You were the one who said that to Mom?" Kyo's dad grabs him by the shirt collar and pushes him back against the wall. "Are you trying to put the blame on me now?" he yells. "It's not my fault you drove her to it. Her death was your fault, not mine, you monster. It's not my fault you were born. I didn't do anything wrong. It's all your fault." Kyo remembers his mother stepping to the edge of a train station platform. Did you feel alone, he thinks? Was it hard carrying all that pain? I was just a kid. It was too hard for me to understand, and I'm not going to make some cop-out excuse like I could have understood if I'd been older. Once you're dead, you can't try anymore or take anything back. I wanted you to live. Finally, I can think like that, but it's already too late. I didn't want you to die. I wanted for you to not give up on yourself while you were still alive, Mom. In the present, Kyo pushes his father back with one arm. No, I won't give up on myself anymore, he says. I'm gonna try while I'm still alive. I'm gonna try to live. Really live. Kyo's dad argues, and Kyo pulls his other hand off of his shirt collar. No, he's gonna kill me, Kyo's dad shouts, though Kyo's clearly not fighting. Someone help me! Meanwhile, at the main house, the old maid, that one old maid, asks if she should send someone to fetch the cat, as his father wishes, to Akito. No, Akito says. I'll go. I want to talk to his father. Kyo is free, and I'm planning to have that isolated room destroyed. Honestly? The maid asks. Akito says yes. The maid asks if he'll approve. Either way, I've made my decision, Akito says. You've changed, Akito-san, the maid says, and I must say that I liked you better before. Fine, Akito says, then stay where you are as long as you want, but as for me, I'm going now. Akito steps out, leaving the maid inside the dark main house. At Kyo's father's house, Kyo releases his arm. It's so simple, Kyo narrates, overlaid over Akito's determined expression. The answer and the how, it's just hard. I finally have it in my hands, and that's exactly why it feels so important. I'll be back, Kyo says to his father. Wait, hey, I won't allow it, he shouts. Never! Kyo leaves. I'm sure his own answer is so simple it's scary too. And it'll need a terrifying amount of time, Kyo thinks. I have no choice. I gotta keep going if I'm gonna keep on living. Nearby, Kisa and Hiro walk together, and Kisa reassures Hiro that no one's going to hate him now that he's free from the curse. I'm so happy that you talked to me first, she says with a reassuring smile. Kisa, you don't hate that I'm not one of you anymore? Really? Hiro says. She looks taken aback, then sad. What about you, Hiro-chan? You don't hate being with someone who's possessed? What? Of course. In my notes, I have put comic vomiting sound. Everyone's aware. The sound of someone barfing their guts up nearby interrupts them. They find Kyo hunched over nearby. You're puking in public? Hiro shouts. The thread of my nerves just snapped, Kyo says. That doesn't make any sense and you're disgusting, Hiro shouts. Kyo says he feels a little better, and Hiro's like, who wouldn't after emptying the tank? While Kisa pulls a handkerchief out of her bag and hands it to Kyo. Kyo imagines or hallucinates Tohru as he looks at Kisa. He describes it as hallucinating, not me. I'm just saying. He hesitates, then takes the handkerchief and thanks her. Hiro asks they should get cleaning up and that he'll help. Kyo says he'll do it, but Hiro's like, I said I'll help. Hiro and Kisa go to borrow some cleaning supplies, and Kyo looks at the handkerchief and thinks, if I'm hallucinating about her now, I must have it bad. And we see the narration, I want to see you. And the chapter closes on Tohru standing on the hospital roof looking out, and the narration, I really want to see you. Yay.
Yay.
Hiro was such a good boy. And
I know.
Chapter 127 opens in the hospital when Akito visited Tohru that we saw last chapter, 2 chapters ago? Recently. 2 chapters ago, probably.
It's like it's all happening at once.
I don't know anymore, okay? Hana and Uo have entered the room. We see Uo's narration. I heard bits of the story from Tohru, and I met Akito Soma. Outside of Tohru's room, Akito admits that Tohru's injuries are from her. Hana says that Tohru doesn't think of what happened as being anyone's fault. I heard about Kureno, Akito says to Uo, who's initially taken aback, then smiles and blushes. Seriously, she shouldn't have time to worry about me, Uo thinks. At school later, Kyo looks panicked. Apparently, all they did was tell him the truth, that Tohru doesn't want to see him right now. Wait. Are you messing with me? He wants to know. Do you think that we would lie about Tohru-kun's feelings just to tease you? Hana asks rhetorically. You don't understand a thing, do you, little boy? Yuki comments that she's not wrong. Tohru actually seems scared when Kyo's name came up in conversation. Tohru-kun seems to think that you dumped her, Hana says, and we see a ghosty panel where only Kyo's wide eyes and kitty ears stand out. Nice work, genius, Yuki adds, and Kyo is like, why does she think that? Well, Uo and Hana say, when someone tells you that they're disillusioned, it's easy to interpret that as saying, get lost. And Kyo is like, that's the worst kind of misunderstanding, and if I don't see her soon, it'll be like I'm confirming it. While Yuki thinks, everyone knows how you feel about each other. Doesn't that bother you? Why the hell didn't you guys tell me something that important sooner? Kyo shouts, and Uo is like, no one cares about what's convenient for you, stupid. It doesn't change the fact that you made her cry. You pissed me off. You better do some serious self-reflection, dumbass. Anyway, don't you dare come and see her until she's out of the hospital. If you do, I'll pull it off. Hana's like, pull what off? And Hana and Uo head out. Yuki suggests that Kyo go pick up Tohru when she gets out of the hospital, which will be soon. Think about it. Can't you cut everyone a break and let her belong to all of us for a little while longer? He asks. Yuki leaves too, and now that his afternoon plans have been cancelled, Kyo wonders what he should do. Should he show about visiting his father? But thoughts of Tohru creep into his mind again. Crap, I shouldn't have said anything to give her the wrong idea like that. But I wouldn't do some things to girls that I didn't like, he thinks, and remembers the kiss. In the hall, Uo and Hana chat. You gotta feel a little sorry for Kyo, but even saying his name seems to really affect Tohru right now. If he did come, she would probably run away before putting on her shoes. So for now, they're agreed that he needs to not see her. Hana asks if Uo will go to the hospital to see Kureno, and she doesn't respond. Hana says, I'm sure you're worrying about plenty of things right now, but if you can see him, don't you think you should? Uo sighs. You're probably right, she says. I've been thinking about Kureno's 26 years in this world, she narrates. The things he accomplished, the things that he couldn't, the things he loved. She remembers again speaking to Akito in the hospital. Akito says that Kureno is in the hospital because of her, because she stabbed him. I chained him down, I walked all over him, but Kureno doesn't blame me, Akito says. What should I... Hey, you're a woman, aren't you? Hana says. Uo and Akito are both taken aback. She remembers what Tohru told her about Kureno before. Kureno-san said that he has someone to be there for, Hana says. Kureno-san said that he has someone that he has to be there for, Hana says. I think I see now. You're the one, aren't you? Uo looks distant and Akito looks a bit embarrassed or maybe ashamed. Uo suddenly starts to cry and tries to collect herself. She wasn't the only reason that I was upset, Uo narrates. It was so much simpler than that. It was the fact that I was an outsider, and Uo hugs Akito. Her narration continues, Kureno-san had lived 26 years and I'd barely been a part of that. I've been polishing the memories of that one day over and over again. I thought it was kind of pathetic and that mortified me. Later, Uo slips into Kureno's room at the hospital. He stands by the window using a cane. She approaches him and stands beside him. I didn't think you'd come, he says, and she asks why not. I don't deserve it, he says. You talked with Akito, didn't you? There's still something I have to do for her. Uo asks what? I have to disappear, he says. If I'm there, Akito will never stop being sick at heart. Until the end, he thinks. Then go, Uo says. Can't you go anywhere you want? Kureno turns away. Anywhere, she says. I'll go anywhere. He looks back at her over his shoulder, surprised. And do you know why? I'm not going to say, she says. He smiles a warm smile. We see the narration. It's okay, really. Right now I can wait. But I'm not going to be left out of things, not anymore. Outside Shisho's house, Kyo runs into Akito, and he asks what she's doing there and says that he wants to talk to her. Akito just shoves him off, though. We have nothing to talk about. Just go on and live your life however you want, Akito says. Kyo is understandably confused and is like, what do you mean? I mean what I said. I hate repeating myself, okay? Akito says. Shisho's door creaks open, and who should pop out but Hanajima? Oh, leaving so soon? Ah-chan, she says, and Akito grimaces and is like, I told you to stop calling me that. Kyo is still understandably confused. It's like, what is she doing here? And Hana explains that they met seeing Tohru at the hospital, so she decided to come along to Shisho's. Shisho also shows up and greets Kyo. Hana says that she'll go and make more tea, and Kyo thinks, is she like friends with everybody? Shisho says to a shook, as the kids say, Kyo. I heard you went to visit your father. Even Akito-san knows about it. He promised to destroy the isolated room. Kyo watches Akito walk away, shocked, and Shisho says that correcting everyone's attitude to the main house won't be as simple. Still, they've overcome an obstacle. You did well, he says, and pats Kyo's head. Why don't you have a nice long talk inside, Hana suggests, interrupting the moment, and Shisho smiles, and Kyo is back to looking away darkly.
This panel is great because it has like shoujo bubbles around Hana.
Yes.
And then like darkness around Kyo with Shisho in the middle.
And Shisho's like smiling, and Kyo is like, there isn't even a mouth. I think he's just like looking away.
Yeah.
We see Uo's narration. After that, a little time passed. Then Kureno-san really did leave the Soma home. He didn't tell a lot of people and got rid of anything he couldn't carry with him. He said things would work out better if he just left like he'd never been there. And then he smiled. I know there are people out there who are disgustingly self-centered, but I think it's okay for some people to be the opposite. To always put themselves last. That's not so bad. Elsewhere, in the Japanese countryside, sometime in the future, cherry blossom petals fall. Kureno asks if Uo is okay looking for a job in the middle of nowhere like this. I'm not, but who cares, she says. I like it here. Why? Kureno asks. I'm not going to say it, she says. Say it. I want you to say it, he says. And the chapter closes on the two of them smiling in the narration. Because. And that's the end.
Yay.
It's cute. I don't know. We already talked about all our reservations of this relationship before. I warned the people up front, okay?
Yeah. Yep. I think we already thoroughly interrogated the text on,
yes.
On the subject, and now we can just go, oh, they're happy. It's cute.
Yay. This is sometime in the future, theoretically, after they graduated, so it's slightly better, question mark.
Yeah.
But it's cute nonetheless, I think.
Yeah. It's okay, Kureno's barely a grown-up anyway.
I mean, he'd never been to a convenience store, so...
Yeah.
That's a lot. I bet you most Japanese elementary schoolers have been to a convenience store. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Like, by themselves, I mean.
Yeah.
There's also an author's note, I think it's in this volume that I read, that said he went there because Akito was suddenly craving like salty snacks, and Takaya said she felt bad for like not being able to include that in the story or something. Oh wait, let me see if it was in this one. I just thought it was really funny. We don't really mention these anymore, but sometimes there's still little like things about about the characters.
Okay. Just like bring me commoner snacks.
Yeah. Shomin snaku.
I see Akito just like sampling all the salty, terrible snacks and just like being like, this one's terrible. This one's also
Kureno,
terrible.
you eat this one. There's a lot of bad snacks in the world.
Yeah.
Maybe it was in the volume before. So maybe it was in volume 20. Anyway. Mm-hmm. But it was funny nonetheless.
Yeah.
I summed it up. It's fine. I noticed a couple of like, I want to start with some visuals and like mechanical things that were in this that I noticed.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I noticed is that Takaya is really leaning into this like the narration transition thing where there's like a narration that applies to both of the characters that it's kind of like transitioning to.
Yeah.
So the one where it was like Uo being like, I'm not going to be left out anymore, and then it transitions into Kyo also, or whatever, I thought was kind of nice. Or like Akito leaving Shicho's house into that scene.
Yeah.
This is kind of interesting. I think that narration can apply to both of them. That's why I think it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
She started using that, or at least I think the first time we really noticed it very clearly was like in the Akito confrontation chapters that we were reading, where there was narration that kind of tied like Tohru and Akito and like Kyo together a bit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and we talked about it a lot last episode with the like chapters wide narration that kind of applied to everybody.
Yeah.
Like in the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
But especially the ones that were on the panels.
Because there was a narration over the part where everybody's sad too. So.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. Anyway, sometimes things are like done as kind of like a one-off, I guess. But in this case, I feel like this is a thing where like Takaya is really like leaning into it, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Seems to be like a thing. It's part of the visual language of Furuba and the storytelling, I guess, of Furuba in this case.
Yeah. I also feel like as we're wrapping up, part of the point at this point in the series is that like a lot of these characters have similar issues and feelings, like even if they don't like realize it about each other, and so it's kind of nice to see all the narration tying multiple characters together, even if they're ones you wouldn't necessarily think about.
Or like we don't like I was gonna say I don't really notice them. I think we talked before about how like Kyo and Uo have similarities, but no more like in their character, not like other things about them. Or like I never would have thought of like Akito and Uo as being similar in any way. So when you have these narrations, I think it's really nice. Like it adds something to the story to show you how they're connected, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying that. There were some repeated like visual motifs, I think, that and like visual language that Takai's used before. So like there's this scene where Kyo's dad is yelling at Kyo, and his dialogue just stops where he's like, "You're just," and then it cuts off and goes into Kyo's thoughts. But you can see in the background there's these like blacked out like dialogue bubbles. So we talked about that because it's prominently used in like Hana's backstory.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. I just thought it was interesting that it came back in that like one specific case.
Yeah.
And then there was a bunch of like, again, like the floral like white petal imagery that we talked about a lot before. Like around Tohru and Kyo's imagination during the confrontation, and then also of course like the scene at the end with the cherry blossoms falling. So we talked about that as representing like a new like potentially like a healthy relationship or bond or something. So
yeah,
we saw it repeated here, and I think in cases where it like made sense that it also represented that something new and positive. I guess they were more like flower petals. It's sometimes flower petals, sometimes feathers, I guess, but most often feathers in the case of the like juunishi. But
yeah, I think the sakura petals get used in a lot of media as like a new beginnings kind of thing, since they're a spring blossom.
Well, when the snow
like
melts, it
spring
becomes
blossom.
spring.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a symbol of change, of a new beginning.
You gotta get there early before they die or the tourists come.
A fleeting romance. Yes. I guess you could interpret it that way too, before the tourists come. Yeah, those are just two, like, a couple of visual and storytelling things that I noticed that I thought was interesting, or like something that's becoming a theme or becoming a thing that Takaya does. So There were a couple other, even like Hana's dialogue box where she was teasing Kyo, there was like a texture in the background, so
Yeah.
someone went like really ham with the textures.
Yeah, there are a lot of textures in these couple of chapters.
I think there were some last time too, but it wasn't as prominent as this time. So.
Yeah. Like, I noticed, like, during the ending with, like, Uo and Kureno's stuff, there's, like, these little, like, crystal-y textures.
Ooh, let me look. Oh,
They're, like, hexagons, but...
Yeah. There's, like, a... Yeah, there's, like, a shaded texture there. There was the same, like, Kyo has this... There were some, like, star-y shaped panels. Oh, when Hana says, Achan, there's, like, a sparkly texture.
Yeah, and we talked about the, like, shoujo bubble jokey texture used in the scenes with Hana and Kazuma.
Yes. Everyone loves a shoujo bubble. There is this, like, that, like, hexagon or whatever you gem shape shadow texture.
Yeah.
That's used in... It's also, like, in Uo's... It's, like, in all the scenes with Uo and Kureno. Like, it's the end of the one where they're in the hospital.
Yeah.
And it's even in that narration and kind of, like, over top of the scene where Kyo's walking in, too.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was a little far away from the micro. I hope everybody can hear me now. Kyo's cat ears have been in these last 2 chapters so much.
He's having a lot of emotions.
I get it.
Some good quality ghosty panels in these chapters,
I loved
too.
it. I love the one where he's already panicked, and then it's like the ghosty panel of him with his panicked eyes, and then he's more panicked when Kyo's like, "You're an idiot."
I also love the ghosty panel of Akito turning to face Hana while Kyo's just like staring on.
They're all
Akito's being like, "Stop calling me that."
Stop. The one that I mentioned before, the other one, also the only other thing that's visible in the ghosty panel is like Hana's braid or like her pigtail. I forget if it's oh, it's a long braid. Yeah. So you can see the braid. It's like you see just like Kyo's cat ears and his eyes, and then like the Hana's braid. The things that she chooses to draw, and those are hilarious.
Yeah.
It's on the page right before that has Hana's texture in the speech bubble too. So many textures.
Yeah. And there's like the lightning texture over Kyo, and
Kyo's
he's like
back.
shocked and
Yes.
everything. Yeah. Yeah,
It
lots
also
of
has
textures.
Sound effect that's like dong dong, like I guess like a gong, ding
Yeah.
dong. Unless it's just supposed to be like the school bell, because it's the end of the day, which is possible. I first interpreted it as it being from him being shocked. Oh yeah, I also sorry, just looking back, there's also a texture over the one where Kyo's throwing up. In the English sound effect, it just says blag. So I thought also about saying that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also a sparkly texture to censor his vomit.
Yes.
Which is entertaining.
It's classy.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so there's a lot, but I just thought it was interesting. Something to make note of.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about things that actually happened. Question mark.
Not just textures.
No, I mean we can talk about it some
Welcome
more.
to the texture hour.
Yeah.
It's our
Like,
new
ooh,
podcast.
This one's a sparkle. This one's a... I just noticed, like, on the gate, there's, like, Tohru's on the fence, on the hospital roof, and, like, the fence is also a texture. And I was just, like, looking at it and thinking, the secret to drawing manga must just be lots of textures. This is what I'm gathering from this. Or, like, to add it, like, background drawing or whatever they call it. I forget. Should we talk about Kyo's dad? So great, right?
Yeah.
Best dad. I just said, the note that I made for myself says, honestly, the acting notes that I gave myself for the summary of the confrontation are just, like, kind of awful. They're kind of disgusting. Because it's just, like, yell and, like, be super satisfied when Kyo confesses. Or whatever. I can't remember if we talked about this on quote-unquote on air before, but in my notes there, sometimes I give myself a cue to remember how much to scream or whatever. So it's just like
scream level 7.
Yeah, no. It's usually just like crazy. Or so this one says slowly laugh louder / crazier. And then it says excited, so you'll admit to it this time. And then it says satisfied. I hope you bear the burden of killing her. because like that's what he looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says, and then Kyo's, all my notes for Kyo are like tense or like quiet because he's like, I'm sick. He's like shaking.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, I don't know if I can convey what I think he actually feels like in this summary.
Mm-hmm.
This is all about my voice acting, apparently. You know?
Yeah.
but you can see, if you look closely in the drawing, in the panels, you can see there's like lines around his hands and feet like he's shaking, which also stood out to me. I should have called that out as like a visual too, but
yeah,
it's Kyo looks so different in these than he normally does. Like in that chapter, the confrontation. He's like, he looks down the whole time. He's like cowering, even though he's mad. Like, he just looks scared. He looks terrified. I feel like we've never really, like, the last time we saw Kyo interact with his dad was when he was a kid, right? And he was like, it's not my fault. That's like the only time we've ever seen them interact with each other.
Yeah.
I feel like it really puts his dad in kind of a different light too. I mean, also there's the reveal that he was the one who like pushed Kyo's mother to kill herself, being like, you disappear.
Yeah.
So we talked about that last time in the spoilers because it came up as like some piece of dialogue. I think it was like Kyo remembering the funeral, and someone had said like, oh, I heard them arguing the night before or whatever. And we were like, ooh, spoiler for this reveal.
Yeah, and we've seen him remember the like just disappear dialogue, but not knowing who said it in some previous chapter. I can't remember when, but
I don't know. I didn't look it up. But yeah.
Yeah, he's a piece of work.
Yeah, he's great. Real awesome. Such an asshole. And also like the way that he like, so first he like picks up the ashtray and like throws it at Kyo. Kyo's just standing there. And then he also is like, he's so scared of Kyo. He's like, at the end when Kyo pushes off, he kind of like, I don't know if he even pushes his arm, but he removes his arm, his dad's hands from his shirt, and he's like, he's killing me. It's like, dude, like,
yeah,
I don't know.
He's very like pathetic in addition to everything else.
Yeah, it's like when he's like in control and he's like super mad, and then as soon as something you know, it looks like he's not gonna be in control of the situation or whatever, then he's all like, yeah, pathetic. He's like, I feel like I can't verbalize it very well. I think you verbalized it better. But yeah, he's awful. So awful. And he's like, call the main house. Lock him up today. It's like,
yeah,
what the hell? Like, I know there's people in the fandom who just call him the sperm donor because they don't even want to like recognize that he's Kyo's like father because he's such an asshole. So
yeah,
I feel like that's the sentiment.
Yeah. He's worse than that. Like,
yeah. Yeah, he's just an asshole. Such an asshole. Worse than that. Worse than even a sperm donor?
Yeah.
Donor has such a connotation of charity. I mean,
it's like, I think that's an appropriate thing to call someone who, you know, fathered a child and then walked away. Like, didn't do anything. He's
this
worse
person,
than that.
Yeah, he's like actively trying to confine his child.
Yeah, he's actively terrible and abusive.
And he also blames him for every single thing, every single problem in his life.
Yeah.
Where Kyo comes in and he's like, don't you work? And he's like, no, I'm taking time off. Whose fault do you think that is? And it's like, that was
you haven't even seen him for like
he hasn't
15
even lived
years.
There.
Like,
I know. Yeah, he hasn't lived there for at least 10 years. It's like, so you just blame your whole life. You just live your whole life on this blame. Like, it's so crazy. Like, the things that are implied by this confrontation are like, it's so disgusting.
Yeah.
So, to say the least.
Yeah.
I'm outraged.
Side note, I'm like, I feel bad for that maid. I can't imagine the stuff she puts up with.
He's probably such an asshole to her. I was like, how do I describe this person? She's not like a main house maid. Like, she's not dressed in the same way. But also the like opulence of this house. It seems like we see such a small view of it. Like, it's just but it's like a huge front door, and then he has this room with like, so in the anime they showed like a huge like record collection, but here it looks like kind of like a big DVD collection or something. There's like a huge TV. He's just like chilling in a like easy chair reading, and then Kyo comes in and he freaks out, as if you never expected him to like be there. It's so crazy.
Yeah, it does seem like the maid seems like out of the loop because like he's like, who said you could let him in here? She's like, but I thought like she's obviously like, it's your
He's
kid,
your son.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Isn't he allowed in here?
Yeah. What did he say about him to the maid? He's just like, oh, my son is estranged or something. Like, yeah, I don't know. So crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. She looks confused, which it makes sense because, you know.
Yeah. I feel like you'd be confused every day working for this person.
Yeah, I guess so. You're like, what are you even doing? You know, I don't know.
Why are you so mad? I don't
Yeah.
understand.
Why are you so afraid of everything?
But yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, basically. Every time there's a close-up on Kyo, you can see little shaky lines around him.
Mm-hmm.
Like his feet, his hands. Oh, Kyo.
Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah, I think it really shows the, like, the kind of influence, like, your parents can have on you. Like,
Yeah.
like, you know, he's, like, this is, like, an obviously, like, pathetic person, but Kyo's, like, terrified to be confronting him, because
Yeah.
it's his father who made him feel, like, worthless as a child, so.
Yes. It's kind of like, it reminds me of like Akito, the way that like, so we see the father, he's presented as this, yeah, like a pathetic asshole person who blames everything on everybody else. He seems to be kind of like good for nothing, but then he's living in the lap of luxury because of Kyo, right?
Yeah.
And then blames him for all of his problems. So it's like he has this like scapegoat and a way of like having, you know, like Kyo's existence enables him to have like an opulent lifestyle, essentially. It seems from what the very small part that we can see and what we know about the family, because I assume they're paying him and they're paying Shisho.
Yeah.
For I don't know, because of the juunishi stuff. So I assume that that's what's happening. And then at the same time, Kyo is someone who could crush this guy, and he's terrified. Like it's of this person who's clearly a pathetic loser. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, I did think of like how the juunishi see Akito, because like it kind of made me think of like toward the end of the scene, like when he's Kyo's kind of like gaining more of a like a realization of the situation. And like being less afraid. I feel like it was kind of a like Momiji's like, what the heck kept me bound to this person. It was kind of a like, why was I so afraid of this person kind of moment.
Yeah, it's probably feels, I would imagine that it's similar for Kyo, where he's just like, yeah, like you were the one who said this, like it wasn't me, like it's not, none of this is my fault. You've been saying this all this time, but it's not. And then I also think it's interesting how he's just like, I'm leaving, I'll be back, like I'm leaving, but I'll be back, and he just leaves.
Yeah, like it does seem like there's kind of a like look of realization when his father starts like freaking out, being like, he's gonna kill me, when Kyo's like barely touching him.
Yeah.
Like, there's a moment where he's just like, oh, you're this kind of person.
Yeah, you're this kind of asshole.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the kind who will like yell, who will like, blames everybody else and will like yell at a like woman and child. You see the scene of him like standing over, the way that he's standing like above baby Kyo and his mom. It's like, oh, so you'll yell at like a helpless child and a woman, but then as soon as someone touches you, then you're like, oh, he's gonna kill me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. Violence isn't the answer, but I'm just saying. Pathetic. Anyway. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, it's disgusting, depressing, but Kyo stood up to him, which is great. And then Akito went and sassed him too. So the maid is like, can we talk about the old maid? The real villain of the story? Oh, no, sorry. Do you have something else?
Can we talk about like Kyo and his mom first?
Yes.
Like, while we're still in that kind of
Yeah. We can.
Yeah, I feel like this kind of like sort of recontextualizes like his mom's like position in all of this, and like Kyo's relationship with her and everything.
Yeah. I love how Kyo is like, were you scared? Like he has this whole like inner monologue. Like he said before when he went during the true form that he wanted her to try, like he wanted her to live. He didn't want her to give up on him. He didn't want her to give up. But this is also like something that we've seen also in more recent chapters, where it's like, especially with Kyo actually, where it's like the same thing as before, but then something's like added on to it that kind of like flips the meaning a little bit, like the same narration. So in this case, he's like, I wanted you to keep trying, and he's like, you know, like I couldn't understand at the time, but like I don't have any excuses, and so he builds on some of the things that he like said already, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like you get more of an impression that like I think in the past you only saw kind of like, you know, the worst of it after like obviously being beat down by all of this, but I feel like you get the impression now that like she really did love him and wanted to protect him, and was just like beat down by everything, including her husband.
Yeah.
To the point where, you know, she just couldn't deal with it anymore.
If every single person in your family So like you have this like secret, and then even the people that have that secret as well are like all against you, against your son.
Yeah.
And then your husband also is blaming you for all of this crap because that's who he is as an asshole person.
Yeah.
Yeah. That must have been
because I think
overwhelming.
and like I think that scene that we see a couple times of her like holding on to baby Kyo's hands while she's kneeling on the ground is like heartbreaking, but like does seem to show like some genuine like affection between the two.
And I do think like I think what I was trying to say before and I didn't do a good job of it is like I think we saw Kyo's mom as more of also a figure to be afraid of before, because she was like, we saw the scenes of her during the true form where she was like, oh, you're wearing your bracelet, like you check this thing. We just saw the Kagura and Kyo episode of the anime that also happened in the manga where Kagura is like, oh, well, nobody's around to like get mad at you if you watch TV anymore. Like I think we were led to have this impression that his mom was the scary one and his dad blamed him for her death, but it was like nothing was beyond that, right?
Yeah.
And now it seems like the impression that we're left with after this chapter is like she was just as attacked as Kyo, right?
Yeah.
And she was trying to protect him, perhaps.
Yeah, and it feels more like the actions were like, you know, they weren't good actions toward Kyo, but it does feel more like she was genuinely trying to protect him from, like, you know, a horrific world.
Yeah. Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah.
I also like how this transitions to, like, sometimes I feel like when you have a scene like this, it's just like, well, that's a downer, and there's no, like, resolution, but I think, like, Kyo's resolve that comes out of this is, like, I'm gonna try to live now while I can. I'm not gonna, like, give up on myself anymore.
Yeah.
And, like, I saw how this type of situation played out, and I don't want that to be me, right?
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna get out while I can.
He's like, I just came here to tell you to fuck off.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do what I want. And I'm in love with a girl. That is like,
came here to say peace, bye.
Bye. That's how you lighten the mood. Listen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely, it's heartbreaking, and I think like we finally get the full picture, I think, of what happened in his past with his parents.
Yeah.
So that's nice. I guess. It's nice question mark.
Full picture of this lovely little family.
I feel more informed for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the resolve, but listen, everything got taken care of.
Yeah.
Akito shut it down.
Yeah.
Which is like the first. Well, Akito went and apologized and talked to Kureno and Tohru. That was a good move. This is like the next best move.
Yeah. This is I think this is her first like active moment. Like,
I think so.
She's been like reactive like her whole life essentially, but especially like in the last like in her trying to be better, it's mostly been like, you know, apologizing for things that have happened already, but now it's like I am making an effort to do a good thing moving forward.
Also, I think like this is an opportunity where Akito can like use her power within the family for good, and I think that she probably recognizes that, where she's just like, this isn't happening, so like yeah, and she's just like, no. And then she goes and talks to, I'm sure had some words with Kyo's dad and was just like, no. And then went to Shisho and was like, Kyo can do what he wants.
Yeah.
And I'm destroying the cat's room. And that's it. And then just like peaced out. And that was like the extent of the conversation, I'm guessing.
Yeah. And it's kind of a nice thing that like this is where she started. She's like,
yeah, it's great.
Start with the like most awful thing and try to undo it as much as I can. And then we'll go from there.
Yeah. I think it's interesting how Kazuma says, like, he's like, we've overcome a great obstacle. Like, this is the biggest obstacle. I don't even know what you're talking about. You guys should be having a party right now. Like, what the fuck? But, I mean, like, there's plenty of other things, but...
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting how he points out, like, people's attitude at the main house, like, people's attitude in the family, is still going to have to change. That's not changing. But...
Yeah.
At
which
least,
we see, which we see with the maid.
Yes. That maid. I really wish she had a name.
Yeah.
It's the last hurrah of that maid, though, I think, actually, in this chapter. I don't think she's going to come back.
No, we see her one more time.
At the end? Okay, good. Or, like, not the end, but sometime. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I remember. Yeah.
All right, good. But, like, yeah, the maid is probably, like, the chief one among those people who has attitude, like, not attitude problems, but, like, has her problem attitude that dominates
the, like,
the
ingrained attitude that is going to take a while to change.
I like how Akito is like straight up like, no.
Yeah. It's a nice continuation of the previous
Start walking
chapter's
or whatever.
concept, yeah, of the like, we can move forward kind of thing, because like when the maid says like, I liked you better before, Akito's like, fine, stay here,
Yeah. I like how
but I'm moving forward.
she also like physically leaves her in the dark, which is great. Nice visual
Yeah.
from Takaya. Nice solid hit. It is. It's. I've also like when I looked back at that, I was like, yeah, like the main house is always shown as being like this dark, kind of like isolated, enclosed kind of space. Like we always
Yeah,
saw
like
Akito there.
yeah, we always used to see Akito in like
Yes.
these little dark shadowy corners.
Yeah. I think it's a good representation of like that. I don't know that concept. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, I
Moving
think
on.
kind of an early indication that like Akito's just as trapped like as everyone else, like before
For
we
sure.
even started to see that side of Akito in the early chapters.
I feel like because we've seen Kureno enter into that darkness, and we've seen like Akito leave the maid in the darkness, it actually like that didn't just click with me until you just said it just now. That like we could have like I think we could have if we had maybe noticed that earlier on. It would be more obvious that Akito is like just as trapped as everybody else is in the family. Like I think like in the climax chapters with Akito, like we talked about, I'm sure the like reveal is that Akito is just as bound in as everybody else. Is just as much tools all the other Zodiac
Yeah.
are and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's easy like when you're first reading it to just see it as like visual language of like villainy essentially, like someone always in the shadows and stuff, but like
Definitely.
yeah, knowing where it goes, it's obviously like visual language for Akito's
Being trapped instead.
being trapped as
Yeah. It seems like that. It seems like Akito at the beginning of the story, we talked about it also. Akito's pulling all the strings. Akito is the villain. Akito is the one. But really like, the bond is not the only thing that's a problem. The real like villain here in this story is like
it's tradition.
yeah, tradition. Systemic
Fuck
power.
tradition.
Yeah, I know. Systematized abuse and power
Yeah.
structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting. It's a big concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool. You get this little. We get to see Akito moving on from that now.
Yeah.
So one big step, a good big step.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing to make light of. So. But yay, it's exciting. Get rid of yay, tear down the wall.
I also like that like it's not just like Akito's like it's not just Akito going like yeah Akito's free to go. She's like I'm gonna tear down the building. Like
Yeah, it's like I will ensure this happens to nobody.
yeah.
She downplays it, so when she sees Kyo, she's like, do whatever you want. But it's like, no, it's like she's stopping everything from happening. She's stopping the cycle from happening again,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, Kazuma.
Yeah.
Talk it up. I mean,
They're probably a little like still processing.
Kyo's shock in that whole scene is wonderful because also like Hana is there too. He's
Yeah.
just like moves from one crazy shocking thing to another,
Yeah.
or like what he feels is like a crazy shocking thing to another.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they'll have a good happy cry about it later.
Yeah, probably. Who wouldn't?
Yeah. It's like, oh, that thing that's been looming over our lives from the moment we met each other.
Yeah.
That's been solved.
It's been resolved. Hana's like, I'm gonna have to make some more tea. I mean, I made a note. The last note that I made here is just this like it's so simple. This like it's so simple narration. Kyo's like it's so simple. The things that thing I have to do and how I have to do it is also overlaid over Akito. So I don't know why I made this note in two separate places in my notes, but it's tied into this thing of like the narrations linking people together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We also get not the exact same thing, but similar like it's so simple phrasing from Uo too.
Yeah.
In the second chapter.
yeah, she's like, can't you just go away? If it
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of like the concepts here are like the like simple step that is still difficult for people to actually make, but
there are a lot of
yeah.
there are a lot of things in life that are very obvious but very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Good segue. You want to talk about? A seamless segue with no seams at all about Uo and Kureno.
Sure.
So, a cute ending.
Mm-hmm.
This is their big moment, though, in the story.
Yeah.
It's the resolution of their story.
Yeah. It's the Uo and Kureno finale.
Uo and Kureno, another Uo and Kureno.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting choice to do like the little brief flash forward thing.
Yeah, she doesn't really do that. Takaya doesn't really do that very much.
Yeah, I think we
There's one.
did we get it with
there's one at the
Hattori and
end.
Mayu?
Oh yeah, there was, because she's like, and then I'll cut. It's like, then I cut my hair, and soon he would laugh again, or whatever. I forget exactly what it says, but there is a very, very short flash forward in the Hattori and Mayuko story.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's similar to that.
Yeah.
This one has more stuff in it, because I'm pretty sure that one is like one panel or something.
Yeah.
But, so Kureno goes far away.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Japan. I assume. I don't know. There's sakura petals,
so probably. Either that or the Washington, D.C.
DC.
Potomac Basin.
Or like somewhere in, anywhere where there's been ceremonial cherry trees planted elsewhere in the world. She's like, Kureno, I didn't mean to move to America.
Yeah, to say I want to write the AU where they now live in the, in the D.C. metropolitan
in the tidal basin.
Yes.
I was like, where even are...
They've got like a little tent.
She's like, Kureno, I didn't mean to become a nomad. And he's like, this is how I live now.
They live on the mall, go to the museum sometimes.
For air conditioning when it's hot.
Yes.
It's bleak. So bleak. The scene with Uo and Akito is also interesting too. Where Uo is kind of like, I realized that I was just only thinking about this one moment over and over again. And I like really don't know that much about this person's like life and all the people that he cares about or anything. And how she was embarrassed by that, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is unreasonable also. But fine, it's fine. You have time, get to know them. But
yeah.
Of course, Hana also picks up that Akito is as a woman right away.
Yeah.
With her electro poison waves, or whatever they translated it to. Her Denpa hasn't come back in a while, I guess. Although, I mean, it doesn't say that she used her Denpa. She could have just used her...
Intuition?
Yes, woman's intuition, like Tohru has.
Yes. I like how it's clear that, like Akito and Tohru have been, like, talking a lot.
Yeah.
Like the fact that, like, you know, like, Uo and Hana walk in and they're, like, obviously deep in conversation. And
yeah, they're still in their conversation.
Yeah, and the fact that, like Tohru obviously, like, mentioned the whole Uo and Kureno thing to Akito.
She used her time wisely to get her social agenda done.
Yeah, which is so sweet and so Tohru.
I know. I was just thinking, like, because though I just, while you were talking, I remembered, or I made a joke about, like, women's intuition or whatever, like Tohru says. But I just remembered in the anime when she was like, of course I didn't go. She's like badly covering her lie about going to see Shisho. And I was like, man, without Tohru in these chapters, we don't get any like crazy Tohru reactions. We haven't any Tohru reactions for a while. I'm so excited for when she gets out of the hospital. Think of all the things that she'll do and say and the faces she'll make.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I didn't really think about it, but like we only see like little glimpses of Tohru.
Don't even see her face.
Several chapters, yeah.
Until one of the ones that we're reading next time, I think. Speaking of not seeing people's faces, there was a chapter where they didn't... Oh, like the end with the Uo and Kureno scene? It's interesting how... I don't really have a comment about it, but like you don't see their like smiley faces until the very end of that scene. So it's all like these shots of like Uo like grabbing for the petals and stuff, and then Kureno's just standing there. Like it's just kind of interesting. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about it, but I guess you just kind of like get the atmosphere of where they are. It just framed in an interesting way. I thought it was cool.
I kind of get the feeling of it's like fully separating them from like their past like events, like it's going like here's all this drama stuff that just happened, and then here down the line away from it all.
Yes. Yeah, true. There's also there's all like narration and speech bubbles and stuff that cover their faces and then goes into their faces.
They're good smiles too.
They are.
Like,
Uo's actually a bit teary-eyed, which I didn't notice until just now.
Yeah, like these both look like people like looking at someone they're in love with.
Yes.
It's very cute.
Yes. They looked like that in the in the scene in the hospital too.
Yeah.
Similar expressions. I love Uo's like kind of coy face in that smile too. In the hospital. She's like, I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of funny. Very Uo thing to say.
Yeah.
So embarrassed about her affection. It's fine. You can be in love with someone. It's fine to care about other people. Okay? Yes, of course. It is a very Tohru thing to do, too.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, by the way, about Kureno, I have something that I've been meaning to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Yeah, Akito doesn't know that she snuck into the main house. She's like, also, I have a recommendation for maintenance for the main house.
Yeah.
I'd like to submit a ticket while I have you here. Yeah, the last time that we saw Tohru talked was when she was, like, passed out. About to pass out. Are there any other things that you want to talk about that aren't spoilery? I think I'm done with things I wanted to say. It's just like, Akito did good.
Yeah. Yeah. Good job, you're trying.
Yeah.
I like her, like, totally shocked face when Uo hugs her, too.
Akito's
She's
getting...
like, this is not the reaction I was expecting.
Yes! Akito's getting... I feel like the world is turning upside down for Akito in, like, the best possible way, where she... Like, everybody's reacting positively to, like, everything, or, like, accepting everything that she's done.
Yeah, she's like, what is this affection and acceptance?
Yeah,
I don't know what to do with this.
I don't understand. That's not what I expected at all.
Yeah.
And then also she, like, sassily stood up to the old maid, and the old maid didn't do anything. So, like, nobody's, like... It's like, you have the world in front of you.
Yeah.
Like, to do...
She's like, oh, I can do what I want.
Yeah. I can do what I want, and I can be a good person.
Yeah.
And no one's gonna, like, shun me, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or at least, like, the people who are worth...
People who matter.
Yeah. Yes. The people who are worthy of my affection and attention are gonna, like, forgive me.
Yeah.
Which is a good lesson for everyone.
Yeah. I also want to know the, like, conversation that led to Hana following Akito to Cosmo's house.
Maybe she was just like...
It's like, oh, where are you going? Oh, I know him too. I'm going to tag along.
Oh, I'm going to visit, It's like, oh, I'll come too. And Akito was probably just like, fine, I guess.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
what to do about
family
this,
conversation.
so sure.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with, like, the social niceties and things, so...
Yeah.
Like, is this how a normal visit goes when I...
Yeah. It's like, I'm not even going to ask how you know him, but okay.
Maybe it all came out. Maybe they were like, oh, and then you should hear what she said at the school play in front of everyone. Yeah. And Akito was like, what? Someone has so many deep feelings for Kureno? That's not me. I was just using him to get back at my other lover. So... And also as my just external emotional support device. Like,
yeah. My emotional support Kureno.
I was just about to say that.
You put a vest on him and he doesn't have to buy a plane ticket.
He just, like, sits on her lap.
Yeah.
It's like, this is my lap-held Kureno.
It's like, you're going to have to stow him under the seat for takeoff.
Just get up there, Kureno. And he's like, sadly folds into the overhead compartment. Okay, good. So nothing else to talk about then?
No, I think I'm good.
Next time we're going to talk about chapters 128 to 131. And here my note says, deal with it. There is no regular schedule. The moment that I've been waiting for. I mean,
it's good stuff.
So good. I was like, well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in spoilers. Shall we talk about spoilers?
Yes. Okay.
So next time we'll talk about all those chapters. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So listen, spoilers. So basically, like, I'm incapable of not reading through all of those chapters every time I read at least one of them. So I was like, oh, I better start looking ahead for next time, and then stay until like 1 a.m. reading through all of it. So and got to the Yuki Machi part, and I was like, yay! Like, I just can't.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So.
Yeah.
But I was also just thinking, like, I don't know how much there'll be to talk about. It's just like a really great love confession for everybody, right? So, well, then there'll be like cursed stuff to talk about, I guess. But
yeah, I was gonna say the like true story of
that's
the Zodiac legend is like one of my favorite parts of the series.
All of it is great. I love all the expressions.
Just all the curse breaking stuff.
Yeah. I love all the facial expressions during the Kyo and Tohru scene. Like, where he pulls off the bracelet and her, like, face in that scene. Yeah. It's, like, impossible to describe. Like, it's... I don't know. This is, like, peak Takaya emotional representation skill, also, which is great.
Yeah, and also just the ending of that chapter where they hug and then they realize that
yes,
he has not transformed.
He's still there.
Yeah.
What a weird feeling it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I guess I can't really imagine the opposite because I've never hugged anyone. I've never once turned anyone into a cat or whatever. Whatever Hajime says in the beginning of another. So like, yeah, I don't know. It must have been so weird, so unexpected.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah. What a cliffhanger that chapter must have been.
I think I saw that. Hold on, wait. I gotta look at it to remember. I'm pretty sure that I saw that at least one of these. I think it was that one in scans, untranslated scans. And I was like, when is it gonna be ready? Because that was before I studied Japanese and I had no idea what I was doing. I tried to translate it and I had a dream that I was looking for a kanji. That's how hard I tried. And you know what I mean? You know when you do something so hard that you have a dream about it? That's what happened. It didn't get anywhere. But now I've grown as a person. I have more knowledge and skill than I used to have.
You're like, I know like at least 3 more kanji.
At least 3. Wanikani says I know like 200 something, which I don't really believe to be true. So somehow.
Yeah, I love when like Duolingo's like, you learned 200 new words. I'm like, did I?
Did I really?
It's like, I'm sure I saw 200 new words. I don't know if I'd say I learned them.
Well, it depends on what you classify as like, when have you learned something? Yeah. It's a whole like, I'm sure there's an argument to be made about that. Yeah. What does acquired learning actually mean? Yeah. Some of our like teacher listeners are like, I know what it means. I'm sure. Yeah. I know that we have teacher listeners, so I can say that. But at least we used to.
Yeah. I feel like you like almost don't finish learning the language.
I don't think so. I mean, I still learn things in English.
Like even English, like
on the reg. And sometimes I still have to look things up. Like sometimes I remember like I have friends who like English isn't their first language, and then sometimes they ask a question and I'm like, well, let's Google it because I don't know. Like
I'm always looking up grammar stuff like when I'm writing. It's like I know it, but then like I'm like, is that right? And then it's like further versus farther.
Yes. I always have to look up to whom, when to use whom instead of who, because literally nobody uses it correctly. Yeah. You use whom when it's an object.
Like different tenses of lay and lie and laying and laid.
Laid and...
I hate it.
And then also if you use it right, you sound pretentious, so you're like, maybe I should just say whatever I want. I don't care. Yeah. What are the stakes? This is fanfic. I mean... In my case, 90% of the writing that I do is like this script for this podcast, so I could say whatever I want. I don't even write it or read it right half the time, so...
It's like the only one who'll judge you is me.
Yeah, pretty much. And you have. It's captured in recording, so... Anyway, Furuba spoilers?
Only when it's funny.
Yeah, no. Well, it's usually funny. That's what usually gets noticed. That's what makes it great.
Yeah, spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. Anyway, spoilers. The only main spoiler that I have is like, they're like, oh, Tohru run away. She'll run away if she sees him, which is what happens. Yeah. Makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, I have 2 spoiler comments.
Okay.
One is the, like, we talked about the It's So Simple narration overlaying...
Akito?
both Kyo and Akito.
Uh-huh.
And I think, like, specifically that bit we're saying, like, it's so simple, the answer, and how they're both simple, it's just hard. I feel like that's, for Akito, is specifically referring to her decision to break the curse. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, like, she doesn't say it in, like, any of these chapters, but I think, like, she has already, like, kind of made that decision, or is leading up to that decision.
Yes.
So.
Kayla, I have a form submission. This is relevant to next time. I got an email from a listener that says that, so we had talked about this, like, vague narration that's in chapter 121. What is it? It's what Kyo says. So the message says that it's the beginning of Kyo's confession to Tohru in chapter 129. So what he says to her at the beginning of the confession is, I should have known that this world doesn't always give you the chance to apologize. I can't let the same thing happen again. I can't. That would be like I never did learn. And I think that was, like, at the end of the chapter where Kyo, to the end of 120. So it says, Kyo's narration says, it's you see him walking away, and Tohru walks away, then Akito pops out of the woods, and it says, the only things I ever did were for myself. I only cared about my own penance. I said only what I wanted to say, and through everything I've ignored your feelings. And sometimes you never get the chance to apologize to someone. I knew that, but if I'm going to just keep repeating the same thing, how's that any different than not knowing at all? Mm-hmm. And then his confession is something very similar to... His confession starts off with something very similar to that. I was only thinking of my own regrets. I wasn't controlling what came out of my mouth. I completely ignored your feelings. I should have known better. That's me of all people, that this world doesn't always give you a chance to apologize. I can't let the same thing happen again. I can't. That would be like I never did learn. And then it goes into, like, her confession. So,
yeah.
Thank you, Morgan, for sending that. I didn't recognize that, and that I learned. Mm-hmm. It says, I didn't notice until one of my more recent read-throughs. Check it out. And I did. So anyway, that's a spoiler for next time, is what I try to say. So it was which is cool, because we were like, what's up with that narration? That's weird, I think, when we were talking about it. Mm-hmm. It's in, like, a dark box, like a dark, like the square narration style text box. And then next time, and then he says it in his dialogue when he's talking to her. So I don't know, I thought it was cool. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a spoiler from, like, 2 times ago, I guess, but it's fine. It's a spoiler for next time, so it counts, right? It counts.
We make the rules, so yes, it counts.
Yeah. I do what I want. Listen. What, was that both of your spoilers that you said?
No.
Oh, what's the second one? That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, the other one is, like, I said the maid does come back.
Yes.
And, like, they have, I should have brought the other volume.
Which one? I have 22.
It's 23, I think.
Yeah, I don't have that.
I have 22 with me. I don't have 23. Yeah, I can't remember what the exact thing is, but, like, basically, like, the maid is saying that, like, she can't deal with, like, all this change. She's too old. It's been like this her whole life. And, like, Akito, like, says, like, maybe you just need someone to offer you a hand, like someone did for me, and, like, does that. But then the maid just, like, rejects it, so.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
I remember now.
Kind of like, well, what can you do? But, yeah.
Like, well, anyway, you're fired. I mean.
Yeah. But it is interesting, because you do kind of get, like, a bit more insight on the maid's, like, thought process.
Yeah. I remember,
like, rather than just being about. Like, just being, like, terrible for the sake of being terrible. You kind of get the idea that, like, it's just, like, what she's known her whole life.
It's kind of like Akito. It's just like Akito. Mm-hmm. Akito was
it's like we said,
how am I
that,
supposed
like,
to live in this world?
Yeah.
It's not my fault.
Like we said about how, like, almost no one in the series is just, like, awful for the sake of being awful with no kind of, like, information on their perspective. Like, even the maid gets, like, you kind of get a glimpse at her thought process, even if, you know, you don't agree with it.
I mean, like, Kyo's dad is awful, but I think that all of his actions are just, like, out of fear and, like, shame.
Yeah.
And puts that blame on
that's another thing. It's like, he's an awful person, but he's not just, like a, you know, laughing villain.
He's not a villain.
You know what his thought process is and why he is the way he is.
I feel like villains are often, like, they have, like, almost like desires but without motivation. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I want to rule the world, especially in, like, not
at least like a stereotypical like you know, cartoon villain kind of thing. But even I think a lot of, like, a more, like, one-dimensional, like, a one-off, like, monster of the week type villain is like, I want to rule, even in, like, a broad, like, a deeper, maybe, like, superhero show or story or something like that. Like,
but they're often just like, I want to have like all the power, and like you're like, why? Like, why does that even matter? Like, so he's not like that. It's like
yeah, it's like there's that like there's the like writing advice that like every villain is the hero of their own story.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like you have to like think about, to write a compelling villain, you have to like think about why they want what they want.
Yeah, his dad.
Which,
his dad's more of like an anti-hero.
Yeah. And yeah, but like it's like, yeah, even though he's like, you know, terrible and we don't get that deep a look at him, you still, you know, why he wants what he wants.
Yes.
And why he acts the way he acts.
Yeah. But I wouldn't say that he thinks that he's like I feel like he's not the hero of his own story.
I think he thinks he's the good guy in this story.
Yeah, I think he thinks that he's the like, you know, he's like facing adversity, like he's the one who's like downtrodden, he's like the disadvantaged, you know.
Yeah.
He's the underdog in his own story. And like Kyo's the villain, basically.
Yeah.
And the world is against him, and like, yeah. What an asshole.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, anyway, it's just kind of nice to get that glimpse of even the old maid's point of view.
The one maid.
Yeah, that one maid.
Yeah. But she's a stand-in for the whole family, kind of, I guess, in the story. Like, she's a stand-in for what we talked about how this is like
the old guard.
Yeah, the villain in this story is the old guard, like the idea, more of like the concept of like a way of doing things or whatever, and tradition. Yeah. And she's her character is the stand-in symbol of that for us, I guess.
Yeah, she represents the like what Cosma said about like the attitudes of the other people are going to be more difficult to change. Yeah. But yeah.
Exactly. And therefore she doesn't change. She's basically like a static character. She's one of the only ones.
Yeah, and like willfully, because she gets the chance
Akito
to do different. But yeah.
Well, she had the chance to do so many things. Like she had the chance to like let Rin out of the cat's room and like not be a dick to Akito. Like so many, you know what I mean? Like not use Akito's grief as leverage against Ren. Like she had so many opportunities to be a good person and didn't.
Yeah, and but it's like that last moment, like with Akito, it's like, even if you assume that like she had a similar kind of thing to Akito, it's just like not knowing any different and not like realizing she could change. It's like she gets that chance at the end and doesn't denies it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's true. Interesting. Something to look forward to? Question mark.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff from here is happy though, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a good show of how far Akito's come.
Yeah.
Even if the maid doesn't change.
Yeah. But I wanted her to change. I didn't want her to stay the same.
Can't everybody be better?
Indeed. Is there any other stuff that you want to talk about this episode?
No, those are mine.
Okay. Well, I'm good. Let me see what's next. I know what's next. We already talked about it, which is all the
everything.
So many things, guys. I'm really excited.
Yep. Love confessions, curses breaking, way backstory.
Long ago, in the land of ancient Greece.
You go, girls.
Thank you. I'm always like, does anybody recognize my joke? See, I have jokes other than from Mulan. We talked about this before.
Yeah. You got the one that came out the year before Mulan.
Yeah, back when the world was new and the planet Earth was down on its luck.
Gigantic brutes called Titans ran amok.
Yeah, I hear that. It was a nasty place. Does this count as a musical reference if you don't sing? Oh, I meant to say the episode was You Cried for Me, and I meant to the anime one, and I meant to make a joke about Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, but that's it's too late. The moment has passed. That was like 3 hours ago. Everyone listening is like 3 hours. What are you talking about?
I remember time in like middle school or something.
Yes.
In Spanish class, we had to like make a map of a Spanish-speaking country. It was like part of a project. And one of my classmates, like, well, she said she was gonna make Argentina because of the song, but Argentina was too hard to draw. So she did Spain instead and started going like, "Don't cry for me, Spain."
Argentina was too hard to draw. It's shaped like a long triangle, kind of. I guess it's kind of like pointy. I don't know. It has like
it's got all those little wiggles on the outside.
Yeah, because it's in the edge bordered by the like Andes, I guess, on the west side. Don't at me with my geography knowledge, although it's pretty good. I almost I came in second place in geography B in middle school.
Oh, I came in first.
Did you really?
I did. I was first in my school.
Different middle school.
Yeah, it was.
Because I was like, you weren't there. Was it rock?
Actually, I think it was. I think it was elementary school.
Okay.
Actually. Yeah, it's kind of wiggly.
I mean, Spain is definitely easier to draw.
Yeah.
Classmate was correct.
Yeah, it's on the bottom next to Chile.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, so the Andes. That's what I'm saying.
But yeah, I still always think of that when "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina" comes up.
Spain. I used to listen to that a lot as a child? Question mark. It's true. But then later you listen to things as a child and you're like, oh, whatever. And then I'm like, I love the song. I think that my favorite song from Evita, and I think objectively the best song, is Another Suitcase in Another Hall, which is about like sex worker leaving one lover to like look for another, or like getting kicked out of one situation to go look for another. And you're like, oh, this is a beautiful song about a topic that is not PG. I guess.
Yeah. I like that one a lot, and I like the A New Argentina song, but I don't know like any of the words. So
the chains of the masses untied.
Especially the like more rapid fire.
The like
songs that Ava sings.
Like in this we vow the descamisados are those we are marching with now. He supports you, for he loves you, understands you, is one of you. It's a good song, actually. Yeah. Now that you mention it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like those kind of songs that like go back and forth between different like characters and groups singing like their own little parts of it and stuff. And like all the parts are kind of musically different, but it all comes together.
Do you listen to the movie soundtrack or the London soundtrack?
I don't know. I don't really listen to it in particular. It's just like I'm aware of that song.
Okay, I understand.
I don't have it on my iPod or anything.
Because like the movie, there's like the character Che, that's played by Antonio Banderas in the movie. His role is like quite different in the there's like a whole subplot with him that's in the musical version that's not in the movie. So the song that song is one of the ones that's a little bit different, I guess. It just reminded me of that.
Yeah, I think the one I'm more familiar with was a Broadway one because it was what's her face singing it, Patti LuPone.
Oh yes.
Also that like tango confrontation song they have. I can't remember what it's called or how it goes. I just remember liking it.
You mean the tango, Maureen?
Yes, that one.
Dance your divas through.
I don't think it's actually a tango, but they like dance kind of
they do,
in a confrontational way.
I think it's actually a waltz because it's the "Tell me before I waltz out of your life, we're turning back on the past." Is that the song you're thinking of?
I think so. Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, it's called something obvious like Waltz for Ava and Che or something.
Yes, that's exactly what it's called.
That I couldn't remember. Yeah.
And she's like, "Allow me to help you sink off to the sidelines and mark your due with 3 cheers."
Yeah, I like that one too.
I don't care what the bourgeoisie say. I'm not in business for them, but to give all my descamisados a magical moment or two. That song?
Yes, that one.
You're like, thanks, question mark. See, I've clearly demonstrated my deep knowledge of Evita.
Yeah, I'm much less familiar with Evita than you are.
I think most people are, even people who love musicals. I'm like, and Evita's my favorite, and they're like, what? It's fine.
Yeah, it does have a lot of the like talky.
It does.
Talky songs that I like.
Yeah, it does. I think you would.
Like,
knowing what I know that you like about musicals, you would enjoy it. But yeah, it's just like funny. I don't know. I just always liked it as a kid, and then I'm like, this is about like a workers' revolution, and then there's like fascism, and it's like they go on like a. She went on like a tour. Yeah, it's all like.
Yeah. Well, it's like when I watched The Sound of Music for the first time as like a teenager, and I was like, "Where'd the Nazis come from? I don't remember Nazis."
Yes, man. I also really love The Sound of Music. That's probably also one of my favorites. I really like Something Good. That's my favorite song from The Sound of Music.
Yeah, that's good.
I also like the reprise of 16 going on 17, where she's like, we might have talked about this before. This conversation feels really familiar. But it goes, a bell is no bell till you ring it. A song is no song till you sing it. And love in your heart wasn't put there to stay. Love isn't love till you give it away. When you're 16, going on 17, waiting for life to start. Anyway, I like it.
Yeah.
That's what I have to say about that.
The original 16 going on 17 is just ungodly catchy. You're like, I don't want to be singing this, but here I am.
You wait, little girl, on an empty stage for fate to turn the light on. It is really catchy, and you're like, I don't want to like this, but I love it in my heart. It's fine.
I do like at the end where, like, after he's all like I'm older and
smarter,
more mature, and I'll take care of you, and then she like starts singing, and like obviously he's like so flustered and like backed down by it.
Anyway, okay, good. Well, music will break over.
It's never over.
Just for now, temporarily over. Until next time. So next time, 128 to 131. I don't think we said goodbye yet, so yeah, so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye?
Yes. I'd like to stay and take my champagne. Yes.
No. The sun has gone to bed, and so must I. So long, farewell. Oh, the train's here to say goodbye. Goodbye.
Train's here to play us off stage. It's like, you take it too long.
The train is the equivalent of the like hook or whatever.
Yeah.
The train ended one of our other recent episodes.
I know, it's loud today. What's up with that?
Maybe they like got a louder horn.
Maybe. Or just really enthusiastic conductors.
Yeah, maybe there's a new conductor on the job, and he's like, I gotta like move up in the ranks.
Yeah.
I gotta prove to them. I gotta, cut my teeth in this business of train engineering.
Most important thing is how loud your whistle is, right?
Right? Right.
Right?
Right. That's how you show your enthusiasm. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
It's like, we gotta crank this thing to 11. Okay. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Your true form.
My true form. My true form revealed. Stop. I don't need a bracelet to keep my true form from being revealed. Or maybe I do. Maybe that's the problem.
Your asshole bracelet.
They say that it was made from the blood and the bones of a really, really nice person.
I know some people who could use an asshole bracelet.
I mean, just so many.
Keep their asshole in check.
keep your asshole in check.
Most of them probably should have been confined after high school, too.
Wow, call the hospital. We gotta get some people to the burn unit.
Some burn heal for that burn.
So, burn heal. If only it was called something more clever, like potion.
I don't know, I think burn
That
heal
would be
makes it funnier. I know for a while people would use that like screen cap of the Blaine from the first game going like, haha, you better have burn heal.
That's pretty good, yes.
Yeah.